Hello, I'm Bill Fox, and this program is about East Brunswick. One of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing segments of our population are our older adults, sometimes called senior citizens. And with me to talk about the programs that the township offers for that group of people in our community are Cynthia Schechter, who is the manager of the Office on Aging, sometimes known as director of our senior program, and Mary Cobell, who's a participant in the program, and will talk to us about how it is to be part of that. Cynthia, first question I have is, who is a senior citizen these days?
Senior citizen can be anyone at any age, sometimes starting at 50, and that's not always flattering to the people in that age group. However, there are programs that say you are a senior citizen at that age. Most government programs start at 62, 65, sometimes 60, and in some cases 55. But here in East Brunswick, if you want to participate in the programs of the Office on Aging and be a member of the Senior Citizen Center, you must be 60 years of age.
Is there a particular reason we chose 60 as opposed to 62 or 65?
When the program started in 1975, the age of entitlement was 55 years of age. We found, however, that most people of that age were still working and busy with a variety of other activities. I believe the township intended in setting up a senior citizens program that these services would be available for those who were retired, and for the most part 60 seems to be the earliest age at which people retire today. And so when we moved into the new Senior Citizen Center, we changed the age to 60.
Now, I mentioned that this is a rapidly growing segment of the population. Of course, it's not only in East Brunswick but nationally. Yes. Have you some notion of how many people of this age group there are in East Brunswick and how that's changed over the years?
The last hard figures we have are the 1980 census, and looking at the group that was eligible for the program at that time, there were between 2,000 and 3,000. The cohort that's coming of age in the next couple of years is 2,000 or 3,000 just for the 5-year period that was between 50 and 55 in 1980. All people over the age of 60 up until 90s totaled about 3,000 at that point. So the next group of people is rapidly growing, and we expect that we have over 5,000 senior citizens at this point living in East Brunswick.
The program that you're part of and that you manage, when did that start, and how long is it, how long has it been in operation?
The program opened at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church on Riders Lane in July of 1975, and at that time had a daily attendance of about 20 to 25 people. When the new library opened in September of 1976, the library board was gracious enough to allow the program to move into the rooms that were available for public use, and that was really a blessing because the church at that time was planning some construction work and was not able to accommodate the program. In the years from 1976 to the present, our daily attendance has grown to between 100 and 150 on an average day. On any day in which we're doing some special activity, it can be upwards of 200 people. Of course, as the attendance has grown, so our activities have grown and broadened to provide a spectrum of things so that people can choose what they're interested in doing. There are just as many different choices as there are people, and some activities will attract 3 to 5 people, but they're just as important as a large-scale activity which might attract 25 to 30.
Okay, I want to talk about the activities in some detail a little later. We established what the youngest age is for the program. What's the age of the oldest participant?
I believe our oldest participant is 94 years old and still active and enjoying the social and recreation activities that we are able to provide.
Now, I know the program is housed in the Department of Recreation and Parks. Is it purely a recreational program?
The program operates on several different levels. The daily activities, which are social and recreational in nature, also operate on more than one level, because where an activity like an exercise class might be fun, it's also a health activity, particularly for the elderly. The types of exercise that we provide may help with the arthritic limb or some other difficulty, and the socialization is most important. When we have many, many people moving into East Brunswick, they move here, elderly people, they move here to be near their children or their grandchildren, and it's most difficult to make new acquaintances and friends when you move into a community at this age, when you have no transportation, and the senior center serves as a focal point for this kind of social activity. In addition, we have a whole component of social work services, which include income tax assistance, assistance with filling out all types of forms, information delivered to people regarding all aspects of retirement. We have a support group in operation for adults caring for elderly or infirm relatives. We have a home-delivered meals program. We have a commodities distribution program, which serves not only the elderly but also all low-income residents of the township.
What I've heard several times from people that their parent, either widow or widower, for example, has moved to the community to be with them, or there was some infirmity but not sufficient to require them to be in an institution. And I've heard people say, well, you know, until they found the senior center, it was a really difficult and stressful time for that family. Is that fairly common in your experience?
Yes, it's extremely common. I think that the expectations on both sides are unrealistic. In our society, in most cases, both adults in the family are at work. The children are either at school or busy with their extracurricular activities. An elderly parent who moves here first has no transportation for the most part and is isolated, separated from the friendships and associations with which he has been used to dealing in past years, unable to get out to find social and other activities on his own. So everybody goes off to work, school, and here is Grandma sitting alone in the house all day long. And it's very depressing, and it creates hostility when the children and the grandchildren come home, and most people, after having worked all day and commuted, are not really ready to go out and do lots of other things, but the person who has been at home doing nothing is waiting for some kind of activity, and so this creates difficulties and hard feelings.
Now, the program isn't only serving those people who move here from someplace else, although that clearly serves our residents, because it does serve the children with whom they live. But I would presume that there are people who've lived in East Brunswick for many years who are also participants.
It's always interesting to us to get, particularly, we do 2 week-long trips a year, and we've been to Cape Cod and to the mountains and to the Poconos, various places, and one of the most interesting things about that is the time it gives us to really get to know each other. And when I start talking to people who have been living in East Brunswick for 40 and 50 years, it really is a revelation to listen to. I've been living here almost 30 years, and things have changed a great deal. But before that, when it was all farmland and apple orchards, and people went to a one-room schoolhouse, it really is a whole different world. And yes, some of these people have had their lives radically changed. They've lost a spouse, they've retired, they've sold a large home and moved into a townhouse or some other kind of accommodation, and they really have to look for a change in their lifestyle, and in this respect, the Senior Center tries to accommodate that change and to give them an exposure to perhaps something they haven't had the opportunity to see before.
Change of topic a little bit. How did you become involved in working with senior citizens?
I always say I was in the right place at the wrong time or the wrong place at the right time. I'm not sure what that is. I was working at the YWCA in New Brunswick, and all of these programs are fairly new. The 1970 White House Conference on Aging addressed the needs of the elderly almost on a national basis for almost the first time, and the funding that came out of that conference was the impetus to begin the nutrition programs, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and the senior centers. And I was the director of the Retired Seniors Volunteer Program, which was sponsored and is sponsored by the YWCA of Central Jersey. I was working there, and the program was starting, and nobody really knew too much about it, but it was a fascinating idea, because retirement and the what to do in retirement was something that was a fairly new concept. And when the opportunity came to work in East Brunswick and to serve my neighbors and friends and the people who I had lived with for so many years, I was delighted. And I have to say that our community and our government has supported this notion of senior citizens and the rights and privileges that they have, and to a great degree, so we're very grateful.
And that's bipartisan support, by the way.
Absolutely.
How does our program compare with other programs? I know that many people, many communities do have similar programs, and I just wonder, you know, as objective as you can be about it.
Impossible.
How does it stack up in size and facilities and so on?
That's a loaded question. As far as the facility is concerned, I believe that there is no finer senior citizen center, certainly in the county and possibly in the state. I mean, there are places throughout the country that are bigger and more fully funded, but for within our scope, I haven't seen anything that is much beyond what we have to offer. We provide just about every service that we know about. Whatever we can't invent, we steal from somebody else, and to a greater or lesser degree, depending on the need. Not every community is the same. Our community has a great need for transportation, and so we do provide those rides to the center and home, to the shopping centers, and to other places. We also have a lunch program. While it's not federally funded, or indeed it's not funded at all, it's self-sustaining. It provides it serves a need. I'm not sure that the residents of East Brunswick need their total nutrition supplied by us, but they do have to have a noontime meal when they spend the day, and so we're able to do that.
Now, I remember when the program first began, there was a considerable concern that local government not duplicate services provided by other levels. And indeed, there was significant pressure from the council, and indeed from me to a degree, that, you know, we shouldn't do that. And I know there's been an evolution in that area, but do we duplicate, and how does it work when someone has a need that's met by some other agency, or could be met by some other agency?
We do a tremendous amount of information and referral. Obviously, no one agency of government, no one group of people anywhere can serve an answer to every need. But the fact that our office is available, and the state and the federal government has supported this notion that you have a local office where people can feel comfortable. We have people with language problems, we have people with physical problems, emotional difficulties, who have suffered a great loss, lost a spouse. It's almost impossible for them to take themselves in hand and go to some office somewhere in the state. If they make telephone calls, they may get shunted around from place to place. It's nobody's fault, it's just the way the system works. For us, people of East Brunswick, our primary responsibility, if we take them physically, or if we make the phone calls, we fill out the forms, we walk them through the process, we try to see that they get the help they need. Sometimes it's just not possible, and there are always things that fall through the cracks, but we make every effort, and we are here all the time for people to call when they are in need, whether it's a financial, physical, emotional, whatever it is, we'll try to help.
There's a general sense that as a society we haven't necessarily treated our elderly well, and one reads from in various places of the elderly poor and people who are isolated and shut in and so on. Do we have those kinds of situations here in East Brunswick?
I think they exist everywhere, and I like to think they don't exist to a great degree. One of the things we've discovered, we used to get a lot of phone calls about terrible things that were happening, people who were ill and alone. Since we've started the home-delivered meals program, those calls have lessened, because very often the people who are shut in, not able to get out, will apply for this kind of service, which means that not only do they get a hot noontime meal, but they also have someone visiting them every single day. Someone is coming by to see what they're doing. So we usually get to know if a problem is developing before it becomes a tragedy. There are entitlement programs. They serve a large segment of the population. I'm sure that they don't answer every need. But New Jersey has the PAAD program, which provides pharmaceutical assistance to the aged and disabled, which provides prescriptions at a cost of $2, which is a tremendous help. The various HMOs. All of this, the information about these entitlement programs is available at the Senior Center and delivered to people to help make their lives easier.
One more question on that, along those lines. As I'm sure you know, the township has been working very hard over the last 2 or 3 years to be able to get some low-income senior citizen housing. And I've heard it said on a couple of occasions that that's not the necessary thing to do. How could we just don't have low-income senior citizens in East Brunswick? Is that a fact, or is that incorrect?
People are dreaming if they imagine that there aren't low-income seniors here as well as every place else. And I talked to Betty Richter, who is the housing officer for the township, yesterday, and she has several hundred names on a waiting list for those 80 apartments, which will hopefully be built next year, and they are primarily East Brunswick residents. So I think that the need is clear, and I hope that this building will be built very shortly and perhaps be followed by others.
Do you see people who have that need in your work?
Always. For the most part, the people who have this great need are living with their children and in a situation which is unacceptable. Everyone would be much happier if the elderly person could be independent, have his or her own place to live, and see the children and the grandchildren on a social basis and not have to be forced to share a home when it's just not convenient and not a good way for them to live.
Okay. I want to come back to some more about the services and activities at the center, but at this point I think we should share with our audience a tape that the video staff has put together that shows the center and some of the things that go on inside it.
And this isn't a conclusion. This is only a step along the way. And I hope that in the years to come that this building will be loved and used by everybody, and that you'll get a great deal of satisfaction out of it.
I'm sure.
I never have figured out why you cut ribbons from the inside. But, here we go.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Schachter. I'm manager of East Brunswick's Office on Aging, and I'd like to welcome you to the new Senior Citizen Center. This is the entry, and this is our reception desk and our receptionist, Irene Bocelli. Irene registers most of our new participants and introduces them to the senior citizens who are already here. This is the multi-purpose room. It's a very large area that can be divided into 3 parts with the use of folding doors. The stage will be used for lectures, performances, rehearsals, and other things of that nature. This part of the room is used on a daily basis for bingo, and in the far end you see round tables and chairs which are used for coffee and cake and for lunches. At this side of the room we have the water wall, which is a passive solar system designed to help in heating the building. These columns that you see are filled with water which are heated by the sun. This is one of our 2 classrooms, which are used for a tremendous variety of purposes, ranging from art classes and craft classes to blood pressure and health consultations. And for that purpose, we have sinks and cabinets in the rooms. This large, bright area is our card and game room. We have, at present, card tables and a bumper pool table, which was donated to us. We're awaiting the arrival of a full-size pool table and a ping-pong table. As you can see, participants are beginning to come in to start the day's activities. We're glad you were able to be with us to tour our beautiful new home, and we invite you to come and see us whenever you're in the neighborhood. And if you are a senior citizen, please come and register and join with us. You have been viewing the minibus picking up members who do not have their own transportation and bringing them to the center. This is done every day that the center is open, Monday through Friday from 10 to 4 p.m. This bus also takes senior citizens grocery shopping once or twice a week and to the Brunswick Square Mall twice a month. The one day of the month that sees our biggest crowd is Registration Day, usually the first Friday of the month, when we conduct registrations for the trips scheduled for the coming month. These folks are registering for either a trip to Neil's, New York for lunch and a performance of The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, or to the Three Little Bakers in Pennsylvania for lunch and Oklahoma. As you can see, these trips are very popular, so much so that there has been an enormous amount of discussion on how to conduct registrations to give everyone a fair chance to sign up. Most of the trips away from the center are limited by the number of tickets available, the amount of space available, or the number of buses. Here are a few scenes of activities in August. This is the sign-up for the various trips that we mentioned, and for the trips to Brunswick Square Mall free movies, which are also held twice a month. These sign-ups are conducted on the first Friday of every month, beginning at 11:30. This is the sculpture class, which is held on Thursdays. It is the most popular activity, so much so that we have had to have 10-week segments for each group and a waiting list so that the people who don't get an opportunity to participate will be first in the next class. The sculptures will be exhibited at our Senior Citizens Art Show held the first week of May. Here you see the men's chorus at rehearsal. This group rehearses every Thursday afternoon and is most active and community-minded. They perform at senior citizens centers, at nursing homes, at hospitals, bringing the beauty of their music to brighten the days of some who are less fortunate and not able to be out and about. This group is participating in the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, which meets once a week at the Senior Center to do public service community activity for nonprofit organizations. On this day, they were processing a mailing for the Middlesex County Extension Service. The mailing has to be folded, stapled, and labeled and goes out to thousands of residents of Middlesex County. This community service provides thousands of hours throughout the year for nonprofit public organizations and service that they could not otherwise pay for. RSVP, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, is funded by the federal government for the express purpose of involving senior citizens in the mainstream of daily activity. They hold recognition activities throughout the year and provide opportunities for volunteer service for people 60 years and older. Share a Memory with Sharon was a new concept for the Senior Center. It gives people a chance to meet and talk about various aspects of their lives, starting with childhood and going on to working years, marrying, having a family, and now the changes that the later years can bring. People who participated in this had a marvelous time sharing their experiences with each other and closed their summer sessions with a very festive luncheon at a local restaurant. Another activity of this type will be continued in the fall. It's called Let's Talk with Sharon. Each Monday, Township Nurse Alice Iacono comes to the Senior Center to take blood pressures and to give advice on various health problems to senior citizens. This is part of an overall program of health service, which includes bringing in physicians, pharmacy people, and other medical personnel to give lectures and advice to the elderly. One of our most popular activities is the craft class. So popular that this particular group had to be split in half in order that the instructor have enough time to give each participant her full attention. Craft class meets on Monday afternoons, and our instructor, Gladys Fixmer, is always on the lookout for some new and exciting activity. Participants make things both for themselves and for the periodic craft sales that the Senior Center holds to support its many activities. A complete calendar of events is part of the monthly newsletter, which is available at the Senior Center and at the library. If you want further information or want to join the group, stop by any weekday. This is our weekly exercise class held on Tuesday afternoons from 1:45 until 2:30. As you can see, the exercises are not too strenuous, but do help us keep in shape. 2 or 3 times a week, a hot lunch is prepared by dedicated workers who volunteer their time and talents for a busman's holiday, a day in the kitchen. While coffee and tea are available every day, lunch is served Tuesdays and Thursdays and on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. As you can see, our kitchen is big enough to take care of everyone, but you must register at least one day prior to the day you attend. The cost is a nominal $1.50. Here is our menu for the month of September, and here is Esther with a tray of great desserts. And to make the scene perfect, here are Vinnie Simone at the piano and Sid Germain with the saxophone to provide lunch and music. On September 21st, we celebrated our 9th anniversary. A capacity crowd enjoyed a delicious lunch, which was served by members of the East Brunswick Women's Club. Music for dancing provided by Musicians Union Local 204, games, a sing-along, and door prizes of handmade and donated gifts. Who could have envisioned 9 years ago that the fledgling group would grow and thrive, would move to the new East Brunswick Library, and finally to this beautiful new building? Who could foresee that this crowd, only a fraction of the total membership, would gather here to celebrate the continued growth and involvement in assistance and fellowship for the seniors of East Brunswick? Hello, this is Cynthia Schachter for Seniors at a Glance. And it would take far more than a glance to begin to get the picture of the Senior Center and its many services and activities. You have been watching a class in English as a second language. Our teacher's name is Andrea. As you can see, the rapport between teacher and students makes the learning pleasant, and the class is growing larger every week. Here is another of our services. Men's haircuts are given every Tuesday afternoon, ladies' haircuts on alternate Wednesday mornings. The charge is nominal, but you must make an appointment in advance. On Wednesday, October 31st, the Senior Center held a health fair. Alice Iacono, our township nurse, did a marvelous job organizing this event, and we all realized the time and effort needed to coordinate such a major effort. More than 150 senior citizens participated in this health fair, and we are very grateful to all of the volunteers, doctors, nurses, health technicians, as well as all the senior citizens who volunteered their time to make this day so successful. As you can see, there were informative displays about Social Security, American Cancer Society, Heart Association, and others. But this was not just an information day. This was a positive action day of the finest kind. With the assistance of students from the Birdie Cove Vocational Technical High School and many other volunteers, all kinds of tests were done. Blood pressure, of course. Eye screening for vision problems and glaucoma. Hearing tests. Blood chemistry tests. examinations for oral cancer, height and weight profiles, and a podiatry exam for foot problems. Surely this is an outstanding example of cooperation and organization to render a valuable and much appreciated service.
Hello, my name is Sharon Riley Morrissey. I'm the counselor in the East Brunswick Office on Aging. Greetings again from the East Brunswick Senior Citizen Center. Here are some of our members enjoying turkey and all the trimmings at the Thanksgiving luncheon, our first Thanksgiving in the new building, and how much we have to be thankful for in this beautiful new building, with facilities designed for the many activities that go on here week after week. This lunch was partially catered to enable our kitchen volunteers to spend more time enjoying the day with their friends here. Lunch is served 2 or 3 days a week for the nominal sum of $1.50, with all the preparation, serving, and cleanup done by volunteers who give many hours of their time to this project. At this Thanksgiving luncheon, we are joined by Reverend Richard Smith of Trinity Presbyterian Church, seen here at the table with Cynthia Schachter, the manager of the Senior Citizen Center. Pastor Smith was present that day for the Clergy Council. This is a discussion group held twice a month and led by a minister, priest, or rabbi. One of the regular services at this center is ladies' haircuts. They are available on the first and third Wednesdays of the month, and you must make an appointment in advance. We have been transporting members to the center for several years via the minibus, but until we are in our own building, we could not provide some services, such as haircuts. So this is much appreciated by those who are not able to drive. Another service especially useful for those who do not drive is the post office mobile. This van pulls up in front of the center once or twice a month and is a full-service post office. They sell stamps, assist with mailing packages, and money orders. Happy New Year, and hello again from the Senior Center. We celebrated our first holiday season in the center in grand style with a capacity crowd for the luncheon on December 21st. I do hope that some of you took advantage of the bazaar on December 9th to come and see our facilities. But I know many of you were present for or viewed the Channel 8 coverages of the lighting of the Christmas tree and the Hanukkah candle. Or possibly some of you stopped by during the open house period and thus had the opportunity to see the center. Here is one of the activities that provides instruction and pleasure for the participants who will also benefit the center. The silk screening class meets every Thursday and are learning by doing under the direction of Ellen Levy. Right now, they are making the pattern for t-shirts that will be sold at the center. After these are done, they will make projects of their own choosing. Ellen Levy also teaches the painting class each week, and from what we can see peeking over their shoulders, it looks as if they will have some really nice work and can enjoy the satisfaction of knowing that, even if they've never done anything like this before, they will have something they can be proud of and enjoy. And that's how we all feel about our senior center. It is something we not only enjoy, but can also be proud of, for the services, for the opportunities to keep on learning and growing, and for the friendship and fellowship it provides.
Cynthia, that was a marvelous videotape, and it gave us a really good overview of what goes on at the center. How was that put together?
Several years ago, we were doing a program with Channel 8 called Seniors at a Glance, and we tried to capture different things that were going on each week, and I think it was shown on Channel 8 over a period of time, and it's interesting even for us to see what happened several years ago. It brings back a lot of memories.
Mary, how often do you go to the Senior Center?
I think almost every day in the week.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the program available on weekends as well?
There were some Sunday programs available, and they'll probably be available again when they're organized.
Mm-hmm.
They were organized for a while, and then they stopped, and they'll be organized again later on.
When you go to the center, what do you do there?
Well, I once said at a meeting, retirement now is acceptable phenomenon, and we have what you call longevity with medical knowledge and technology and all of that. Longevity for what? The senior centers have provided the what for. and hours in particular, because I have found my niche there. I help at the desk. I write sometimes for the Voice of Experience. I help people who need help. Sometimes I write a letter for somebody or write a complaint for somebody. There are many people there who write and read well, but they haven't any confidence in themselves. When they ask me to do that, I'm very happy to do it for them. So I have found my niche. And I go there, and helping others, I also help myself.
Do you participate in the trips and other activities at the center?
Yes, many of them. Many of them I do. I'm afraid of faraway trips because I'm still a little bit wary of them. But everyday trips and day trips, I certainly take advantage of those.
How important are the transportation service, the local transportation services that this
For me,
center offers?
it's a must. I don't drive. I never learned to drive. And if I don't have a bus transportation, I can't shop.
Now, Cynthia, what is the nature? Transportation has been mentioned a couple of times, and it certainly was evident on the videotape. What transportation services are offered? What kind of equipment do we have to do it, and so on?
We have two minibuses and a van. The van is not as comfortable or appropriate for the kind of transportation that we do. We use it as a backup, and we use it for group activities. For example, transporting the men's chorus to their performances and the men's pool team when they go out to play the other senior centers and the Hawaiian dance troupe on occasion. The minibuses are really the backbone of our transportation system because they're much easier to get in and out of, and they're much more comfortable. We provide door-to-door transportation. This is
From where to where?
From the person's home to the senior center and home again every single day. Twice a week we provide transportation from the senior center to a supermarket and back home with the packages. There's been a lot of discussion. All of us who are in the business of serving the elderly talk about transportation constantly because it's a tremendous problem for those of us in suburban areas. We've talked about the possibility of route systems, but in a place like East Brunswick, which is so spread out, any route system would force a participant to walk several blocks, wait on a corner for some length of time in all kinds of weather, and we feel that we would then negate the service that we're trying to deliver. We're not, if you're in good health and you have other ways to get around, then usually you can take care of yourself. If you're 75 years old and frail, you won't get out unless the bus comes to your door and the driver helps you in and out. And that's a very, very important part of our program. We're proud of everything that we do, but the need is greatest for the older and the frailer participant who would have absolutely no social life or no chance to participate in activities if we did not provide it for them. And we go other places. We provide transportation to the various malls so that people can get to the bank. We try very hard to bring as many services as possible to the center so that we don't need to transport people. And you saw the post office mobile, which we only learned about a couple of years ago, and this is a completely equipped post office which comes and parks outside our door.
I never had heard of such a thing.
Well, it exists, and we're very grateful to the Postal Service, and you can send a package, buy a money order, do any of the things that you would do in the post office. It's hard for those of us who have a car sitting in the driveway to realize the frustration of not being able to get to the post office to buy a stamp, not being able to get to the beauty parlor to get your hair cut, not being able to get to the bank to cash a check. So all of these things are part of the services which we provide.
Mary, before the program started, you had mentioned, did you want to say something else about transportation?
Yes, not transportation so much, but I think the one thing that wasn't mentioned to me was very, very important. I came here after living in the other area for 32 years. I left friends, I left many people there that I grew up with, actually, my children grew up with, and I left a career there. I met people I worked with for many years, and I came here. And I wondered what I would find here. And the one thing I found here was friendship. People to be with. Because in our society, when things go well, you want to share them. If things are not so good, you want something to talk to. That's the nature of our civilization. And that I have found here.
Excellent. That, if you don't mind, a slightly personal question. What did you do before you retired? And
I'm a
came
retired school teacher.
Now, you had mentioned before the program started that the educational programs at the center were very important. What kind of educational programs are there?
We have ESL, that's English as a Second Language.
Are there that many people who
We have
need that here?
Asian people and Indian people and a few others, yes. I have not become involved in that because that's something I have not done. I have taught young children mostly. And if I'm going to do a job, I have to do a good job. And I don't know if I could handle that. And there's another reason. I think after being with seniors all day, sometimes I think seniors need a break and need a younger person with them also. And that's a good opportunity to have a young person as a teacher. That's one of the things they have. And they also have GED, which is high school equivalency. That is also a course that's given there. I watch, I listen, I like to do that.
And some people have actually completed high school.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We've had 3 high school graduations, and we've had a number of graduates, and it's very, very exciting. We would like very much to bring college classes to the senior center, and it's one of the things we're working on. Somehow, all of these things are available in other places. You talked about duplication of services, and while it's true that our participants are able to go to Middlesex College or to Rutgers University, first, they can't always get there, and second, they don't always feel comfortable there in a classroom with people of other ages. They feel very comfortable and safe and secure at the senior center, and I think the programs are wonderful. They are sponsored by East Brunswick Adult and Continuing Education Department.
So from what both of you are saying, it seems to be really important to bring the services to the people in the center.
Yes, we found that to be true. We've tried on occasion to provide programs. We do have some off-site things happening. We have a bowling club, of course, that has to be held at a bowling alley. We have a brand new walking program that's taking place at the Brunswick Square Mall Tuesday and Thursday mornings from 9 to 10 before the mall opens. We are permitted to go there and walk, and 2 circuits around the mall is a mile. And when you walk 500 miles, maybe you'll get a T-shirt. But for the most part, our people who participate like to come to the center. They think of it as a second home. They find friendship and support. And Mary's very modest. She does a lot of other things. She's our French translator. We have people coming in speaking all kinds of languages who do not speak English, and we have been able to find someone in the group who can speak with them and understand and translate for them, and that's a tremendous help.
In the health area, aside from the health fair type of thing that we saw, what kinds of things go on there?
Well, the podiatrist comes once a month, and again, it's a case where people just don't have the transportation to get to the doctor's office, so they're able to have their feet done right in one of the classrooms. And we also have speakers very often on subjects that are health-related. Not always do people want to hear about cancer and diabetes and all those fun things, but sometimes the information that's delivered can be helpful, and the contact that's made with a health professional may carry over into personal lives. Many of our participants will feel comfortable with a physician who comes to speak and be in contact with him for information that they really need to have. We try to do that on a regular basis.
Mary, you mentioned friendship as being very important there.
Yes.
What are the What other thing about the center do you find most most valuable and most important to you?
You're not alone. I think, Mayor Fox, it's very important to remember that even when you live with children, they go on their way. They don't always want to take Grandma with them all over. There's a place for Grandma, there's a place for Grandma that she can't go. So she's alone. And many young people work today. If not for the center, Grandma would be alone all day long with nothing to do and nowhere to go. They pick her up at the center at 11 o'clock or 10:30 until 3 o'clock. She has so many people to converse with, to laugh with, to exchange ideas with, to learn, to gather, to have coffee with, to exchange ideas with. The day goes by very nicely.
Cynthia, you mentioned, if I remember right, there's an age spread of 30 or so years in the people who come. Does that pose any problems?
It doesn't pose any problems, except that we have to consciously remember that we are programming in two different areas. For the person who is 70, 80, and it doesn't always mean that they are frail or infirm. Some of our older participants are still playing tennis and bowling and doing all kinds of active things, but it's more a state of health. We have to provide some sedentary activities. We are not great fan. We don't have a television set, for example. That's one of the things that has always created. We feel that that's an at-home solitary activity. We would like people to interact in some way. But things like card playing and bingo and talk groups and craft classes, almost everyone can participate in things of that nature. We also have a very large group in East Brunswick of newly retired people who are very active, healthy, educated, perhaps a little more affluent than an older generation, and they are interested in traveling and in learning new things and seeing new things, and for them we have to keep on our toes. Takes a little doing to keep ahead of people, and we've had things like computer classes in conjunction with the high school and the intermediate school, where we had an hour or two of lecture at the center, followed by several hours of hands-on work with the computers at the intermediate schools, and other things of that nature which are challenging, and we try to remember that we have to keep doing that all the time.
Mary, was it difficult to learn to use your leisure time after working for so many years?
I had many adjustments to make. I had a few of them to make, not working and death in the family and many adjustments to make. It was a trying period, and I think the center helped me considerably in making some of them, not all of them, but some of them.
Some people have observed that leisure is a relatively new concept, and thinking back, prior to 10 years ago, as you said, at least when I was growing up, which was not that long ago, there were youth centers and there were boys clubs and girls clubs and so on, but you never saw something called a senior citizen center. Certainly the increase in population in that age category, but what other forces are behind that?
Well, lots of things happen. The Social Security system is only a little more than 50 years old, and before that time you worked till you died or you didn't eat. I mean, if you were very sick, if you had something wrong with you, of course your children took care of you. But after Social Security, when retirement suddenly became a reality for some people, I think that was the very beginning. I think another factor was the labor-saving devices. I remember my mother and my grandmother, nobody ever had time to think about filling the hours between the washing, there was no dishwasher, washing machine, dryer, microwave oven. It's just a lot of work for everybody. So over the years we have come beyond the idea that people have to work all the time and be busy in a productive activity. And as we said, in the early 70s, when the funding was made available and the need became visible, that people were living longer and retiring and having time for the first time to think about leisure and filling that time. I think that's what started it. And senior centers are a relatively new concept, but they are growing. I don't think there's a community in the country today that doesn't have some service available for the seniors, and they vary in many different ways. One of the things that pleases me the most is to hear Mary or someone say, I'm so busy all the time, my daughter complains she can't reach me on the telephone, and I think that's a lot better than having someone sitting home waiting for that telephone call.
Mm-hmm. And I personally have seen some marvelous things happen. I remember one gentleman several years ago who had moved here to be with his children. He was in his late 80s or so. And when I first saw him, he was really withdrawn and not participating. And about 9 months or 10 months later, I was back in the center and I saw him again, and he was active and playing cards with some other men and so on. And that kind of thing really seems to go on. Now, let's talk a little more about services to people who aren't able to come to the center at all, for example. You mentioned the senior meals program.
Yeah, Meals on Wheels.
Who does that? How many people is it serving? What's the need? Who pays for it?
The meals are prepared in New Brunswick at the YWCA by the Nutrition Project for the Elderly, which is a federally funded program. People pay what they are able to pay. There is I think the request at present is $1.50 a meal, but it's a confidential, the money is delivered in a sealed envelope. Nobody knows who pays what. The meals are delivered to the senior center by a staff member of the of the Nutrition Project. And this is something that we're very proud of. The entire program is operated by volunteers. We appealed to the churches, the synagogues, and the service clubs in East Brunswick, and they came through magnificently. We have 150 volunteers involved in this program because we have 2 routes. We're serving approximately 25 homebound elderly, and 4 people every day go out in their own cars with their own gas and their own insurance, and they deliver those meals. And not only do they deliver the meal, but they come in, they open the package if they have to, they pour the coffee or pour out the milk, whatever they have to do. They take a look around and see that everything is all right, and they report back to us if there's a problem. And I think East Brunswick can be very proud in these times when everyone says volunteerism is dead and gone, to have 150 people who are willing to give their time. While we're on that, I will give you a commercial for another program that we hope to start.
Certainly.
We're in the process, and we'll be having a meeting shortly of volunteers to drive senior citizens to doctor's appointments. The county provides a very fine bus service, but it is very heavily overstrained, and we're hoping to be able to put together another corps of volunteers who will do, by appointment, this kind of service to take an elderly person to the doctor, the dentist, or the hospital when it's needed. And
I hope that's I hope that's as successful as
I hope so.
the home meal program.
So in addition, we have we call people who are homebound and in the hospital. We send them notes. We visit them. We had a group of women who were visiting the nursing homes, and will probably continue to do that after the weather improves. And we try to keep people in touch with what's going on, and we try to keep in touch with them.
One of the things that you had mentioned to me that we might talk about is employment referral as a service. Are there a lot of people who are interested in doing work of some sort to be paid for?
There are a lot of jobs. We all know what the unemployment rate is in this area, and there are many senior citizens who would like to work. The problem, again, is transportation. We have really no way for people to get around. If they don't drive, they have great difficulty in getting themselves anywhere. The county, again, has a service operating out of Middlesex County College, and hopefully they're going to be able to assist in this area, but that is the difficulty. But we do provide that service. People call us all the time, and we periodically have a registration for senior citizens who are looking for jobs, and we have Gert McNamara is our volunteer coordinator. We at the center have between 50 and 100 people who volunteer in every aspect of the work that we do, and without their support, we would not operate as well.
What does the future hold for the senior program?
It will grow, and it will grow, and
I think we'll see a great growth in programs for the newly retired. There's a great demand for travel. Going on vacation is so important to everyone, and just having enough money to go is not always the answer. If you are a single person, it's very difficult to just take off. I know that I wouldn't feel comfortable in going traveling alone, but when we travel with a group, and we're 90 people, we went to Washington last fall, and we had a marvelous time. It's sometimes the only opportunity that some people have to take a vacation. I think there's going to be an increased demand for that kind of service. There already is. It's just not easy to put it together. I think people are living longer. Hopefully they'll be living better, in better health, and we're going to continue to try to provide services. The transportation will always be a need. I don't know. We're in budget times now, so there are always questions about where we're going to go with these services, but I just don't see an end to this for a long time to come, I think.
If you could have one thing, and this is not a promise, but if you could have one thing for the program, what would it be?
We probably need more space. One of the things that we've asked for in this year is one of those glass enclosed bubble kinds of addition to the game room. If you walk into the senior center and you take a look into that game room, our pool players and card players are there from 9:30 in the morning until we throw them out the door.
I thought we worked pretty hard when the center was planned to be sure that it would serve us for a good long time.
Yes, we did.
What happened?
It just outgrew like Topsy. It grew in some directions that we didn't expect. Traditionally, senior centers all over the country have a very small cohort of men, a lot of women and not many men.
About 30 seconds.
We have, for some reason, have a great many men who participate, and they use the game room.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's why.
So it's pieces, it's different parts of it, not
Right.
necessarily
No,
the
the
entire.
building is fine. It's just certain parts that grew at a much greater rate than
Oh,
we
I feel bad.
anticipated. No, we planned well. No.
Thank you both for being with me.
It's a pleasure.
This has been very informative for me, and I hope for those who are viewing it. Thank you again.
Thank you for having us.